Warning, this episode contains strong language or mature themes. Parental discretion is advised.
I always like to listen to music.
So do I.
I brought my tapes. I'll just set it in, and now we push this button.
Welcome to This Podcast is Uncalled For.
What's uncalled for about it?
What we doing at Tijuana?
You met a girl, didn't you? I was like, oh, how did you know? He was like, oh, because it always happens. It always happens. It's the only stupid reason that you would ever drop the ROTC, because of a stupid girl.
And then look, thank you back home.
Oh, that's going to be great for the football charts.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I can think of 100 right off the top of my head.
Is paid a genre?
So it just, a lot happens behind the scene that people don't know about. Like, it's hard for the average voter to understand how much of what they think is their democracy is decided by faceless people to them. You know, you and I know who's making these decisions.
There you go. These are the kind of discussions we have. Fortunately, we're both fairly level-headed people. Again, we're looking at each other in the eye. We're not going to say anything derogatory to the other person. And, of course, neither of us is drunk.
Take me to Gay's barbecue.
It's a bit of a slap in the face and an insult.
But you didn't even give him a chance for a wild card spot.
And the look on Mike's face.
They love big boys like you.
It's kind of, what is that character from Guardians of the Galaxy who takes everything literally? The people are out there, like, they could have taken it literally.
Yeah, we're crazy people and we love what we do, and so we just keep creating regardless of how hard it can be sometimes.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on your podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
And remember, no you.
That is uncalled for, Michael.
And now, your host for this podcast, Mike Chernevsky.
I have a lot more on this tape. Here. Listen to this.
Well, the name of this podcast is Stuff Uncalled For? This podcast is uncalled. Podcast, all right. Well,
And all y'all, subscribe and like and comment and subscribe. Yeah, I said it.
Fuji!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Really excited for the start of season 6. We'll see how much longer we can do this. But for now, we'll just to keep doing what we're doing. Get some more interviews for you, and of course, thoughts and. Maybe a playthrough or two. We'll see. It's going to be a balance of work life and being able to do this for fun. And don't get me wrong, I still enjoy doing the podcast, everything, but it does take a lot out of me. What especially took a lot out of me was the 2022 Fringe season. And again, I'm going to recap exactly what happened. So, the week before the Fringe Festival was supposed to start, my sister and my brother both came down with COVID. I did not have it, but it came up during the scheduled time rehearsals that, my siblings whom I live with contracted the plague, if you will. And they canceled my tech rehearsals. They made me take daily tests, but they were still concerned because I couldn't afford to get out of the house for well over well over a week, almost 2 weeks, that they made the decision to cancel the live shows. So we wound up doing the virtual stuff, and that's exactly what they did. I hope you liked the virtual shows, which of course we aired as a single show, well over 2.5 hours. But of course you get to listen to the individual shows right here on this podcast feed. Will I do it again for 2023? Well, we'll see. We'll see. If you're asking me right this second, likely not, just because of how stressful the whole thing was for me and how draining it was, and still continues to be, even a couple months removed. And not having any idea how the virtual shows did. I just don't know. I don't know, but I never say never. We'll see. That's my official stance. I did send out some invites for possible guests. So, fingers crossed that we'll actually be able to get them on the podcast. And I really do feel that I'm going to need a co-host to help with this. Otherwise, yeah, it's not going to go too well. We'll see. Some positive news. We now have a call-in number, so you can call in, leave questions, and maybe that will help reinvigorate the podcast. So the number is country code 1 for those of you outside the U.S. and Canada. Area code 816-832-5160. You can call, leave a message, leave questions, ask a question, see if I have a good answer for that. You can leave comments, do whatever you want. And if I like it, we'll put it on the podcast. We're going to start season 6 with a potpourri of thoughts. I have a few that were written down here, and then some that just came to mind. I was hoping to revisit some thoughts, but I see I may not need to. As one revisit that I could bring up is the whole ex-Mormon thing. As you probably know, I am an ex-Mormon. I'm also a lapsed Catholic. So, but I think it's a bigger deal to be an ex-Mormon than it is to be a lapsed Catholic. That's just my opinion. And recently, there's been an ex-Mormon group meeting monthly over coffee, ironically, because Mormons aren't allowed to drink coffee. And it's been a great group, and I will continue to come out and have some fun and learn some interesting things about their experiences with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And, just continue to have fun with it. Right in Mormon Mecca. I think a lot of people, if you have not seen the Book of Mormon, you're just going to know nothing about it. Yes, Mormons believe that Jackson County, Missouri was the Garden of Eden, namely Independence, and even more specifically around where the Communion of Christ, the RLDS temple, now stands. And you'll find a lot of splinter groups, as well as the LDS themselves in that general area, which, if you recall, our Twilight Imperium 3-parter, yeah, it's just down the street from that particular game shop. So yeah. And yeah, it's fun, and I'll continue to do it. If I can get any of the ex-Mormons on the podcast, great. If not, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, because it's hard coming from that tight-knit of a religion with really a lot of secrecy still attached to it. Despite the best efforts of people like Mike Norton, New Name Noah. Still a lot going on there. I will go and take an opportunity, since we're basically doing a potpourri thing, to issue some corrections that I probably should have made earlier, but I'll go ahead and make those corrections now. In the Cronky Out episode, still one of my favorites of all time, I misspoke about where Columbia, Missouri is located. If I was in St. Louis, then I would have been correct. 2 hours west of St. Louis. However, I'm in Kansas City. It's 2 hours east of Kansas City. 2 hours west of Kansas City is somewhat west of Topeka, which is an hour and a half out. Maybe Manhattan. I'm not 100% sure. I am not that familiar with that part of Kansas. So, apologies for that. And I made another embarrassing mistake during my interview with Justin Pemberton, where I meant to say geography. It came out geometry, because I guess geometry was on the mind, but I was talking about geography, so let's make that correction as well. Moving on, let's do another couple of really quick thoughts. And I know I wasn't going to talk about the NFL in St. Louis, because there's really no need to talk about it any further, aside from at the time of this recording, St. Louis still hasn't figured out how to divide up the money after lawyers' fees, and the NFL owners are having a bit of a fight about how much Stan will have to pay. I argue he should pay for all of it, because this is his fucking fault. 100%, but of course Jerry Jones was his biggest cheerleader, and the NFL head office was in on it. But still, Stan should pay 100% of the thing. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll probably know what happens by the time this comes out. But let's also not forget that St. Louis was not the only team to have lost an NFL. Not the only city to have lost an NFL team as a result of that debacle. And both the other two cities have sued, but with less than spectacular circumstances. So we'll start with San Diego. So they wait until after the St. Louis suit has been settled to sue, and they do so in a very interesting way. They actually get a couple of taxpayers in San Diego to sue, and they promise, we'll give all the proceeds to the city. It was thrown out of courts because statute of limitations on a case like this is 4 years. The Chargers left San Diego 2017, and this suit wasn't filed until 2022. So, on that technicality, it was thrown out. Also, what kind of standing do these taxpayers have aside from they happen to live in San Diego? So, it is the perfect embodiment of something that Parker and Stone once put to song, and please allow me the indulgence of at least quoting the song. I'm going to jacket where the sun always shines. Been spreading that word now, I need to ease my mind. Been planting them apple seeds, and while the apples grow, I'm going to go off jacking it in San Diego. And the other lawsuit, of course, was Oakland. Oakland fairly recently had their case turned down by the Supreme Court. And there was, again, similar theories to the St. Louis case, but they were dealing with federal law, first of all, because there was an antitrust suit. And that's got tossed fairly quickly. But it got tossed in the California state courts as well. Because I guess California law is a little more tough on what constitutes third-party beneficiary in the instance of a contract like the NFL relocation policy. The St. Louis case made clear that that policy is a contract under Missouri law, but we're talking about California law, and it's completely different. So yeah, 3 cities, only one of whom actually got something out of suing the NFL, and that was St. Louis. So again, I feel for folks in San Diego and Oakland for losing their teams, but let's be honest, I think those teams are going to leave anyway. Anyway. At the time of this recording as well, there is a needless war going on in the former Soviet Union. For those of you old enough to remember what the Soviet Union was, earlier this year, Russia decided to invade Ukraine, and at the time of this recording, Ukraine is fighting back after Russia illegally, mind you, tried to annex a pretty big swath of Ukrainian territory. Of course, as a result of all this, many Ukrainians left and found their way to Poland. Now, of course, I've talked about on this podcast that I am Polish. The last name says it all. And I could not be more proud of the fatherland than I am right now, taking all these people in and helping them out best I can. So good job of Poland and Ukraine. I am pulling for you to defend your country, to take back what is rightfully yours, and kudos as well to my country, the United States, for helping out any way they can, short of actually fighting this war themselves, because if that happens, it's adios, all of us. So hopefully cooler heads prevail and we don't resort to nuclear warfare. I do want to close with this. As I've talked about on the podcast, I'm still having to pay bills from my hospital trip. I have a GoFundMe set up to help out with the bills, so if you can donate to that, please do. I will leave the link on our Facebook page, facebook.com/uncalledforpodcast. Please donate if you can. If you can't, please share with those who can, or whatever. But the important thing is just share it. You know that so far at the time of this recording, raised about a little over 200. And I want to send a special thank you to everyone who has donated, and a preemptive thank you to those who will donate. So, it's going to be tough, but every little bit is going to help. And on the subject of long-term debt, I am happy to report that at the time of this recording, I only have one payment on that car loan, so the car will finally be paid off. Then the next step is going to be getting some repairs done, and possibly long term thinking about getting that converted to electric. Extend the lifetime of that car as much as possible. So, and once again, I will put this out like tomorrow or something. We'll see, but I need a co-host for this podcast. One who can help bring some guests in that I might not have thought about before, and with whom I can have some discussions about so think of it as a two-person thoughts episode. Yeah. So that's how I'm going to end this episode. Sorry, season 6. We'll talk to you next time.
This podcast is Uncalled For is hosted, produced and edited by Mike Chernevsky. Opening music is I Thought You Were Cool by Holy Yesna CC0, licensed under a Creative Commons 0.1.0 Universal License. The outro music for this episode is Acceptance by Kirko Sameo, licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting platform. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/uncalledforpodcast, and check out our blog with show notes at uncalledfor.home.blog. If you are in the United States or Canada, you can call us at 816-832-5160. Leave your message or question for us, and if we like it, we will play it on the podcast. Please support the podcast and purchase our exclusive Uncalled For merchandise. T-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and so much more. go to www.cafepress.com/uncalledforpod. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.